This is the talk of Music City Real Estate.
Welcome back to another episode of the Talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
My name is Monte Mohr with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and I'm Carey Ann with CMG Financial and my mortgage team.
Every week we'll be posting a new episode chock full of Nashville real estate value.
Yes, and you can follow along and subscribe at talkmusiccity.com.
Got a question for us? Ask away at questions@talkmusiccity.com.
Monty.
Carey Ann. Jim. What
We're
episode number is this? Is this like, we must be over 200, aren't we? That's a big deal in today's podcast world to be doing this for now, I think 5 years.
Oh my, Monty. We're aging ourselves.
I mean, holy cow.
You know, we talk about teaching other people about consistency. I think we got the consistency thing down, don't we?
Do you remember the first year we were in the studio and that was a little intimidating to start with? You know?
I was scared to death. Yeah.
It was a little intimidating.
I was like, am I going to say Wonderly, on the radio? But hey, Wonderly on the podcast is all about the same difference. But hey, here we are 5 years later.
How many?
237th.
Way to go.
Woo.
Way to go.
Here we are.
Awesome.
And we're still doing it. We still are bringing the energy and content. We talk a lot about, just kind of educating the real estate community on just doing, right? Just getting out there and sharing content and different topics. And you decided a long time ago, to maybe shift this to more of our audience being more real estate agents so we can educate them, which I thought was great.
Right.
And we're really grateful for all those that continue to listen to all that we have.
That was the whole reason why I opened up a company.
Yeah.
Being
able to help another, right?
Well, I wanted to, at 65 years old or whatever it was at the time. 7 years ago, 72 now. I said, I don't want other agents to have to take 41 years to know what I know. How can I create an environment that has top tier training, learning, support, vendors, and all that, and still pay, as much commission as they possibly can get, but not without compromise, all this kind of stuff. And sometimes do I think, I wish I would have thought that over, because you make a heck of a lot more money as an agent. For those of you who are thinking about someday becoming a broker, that's cool. Get a broker, become a broker, but you don't want to open up a big company.
Yeah, it does fill the bucket, though. It gives you that little oomph. I love being, a supporter and, a leader to, for my industry, loan officers. But you're right.
Well, you're another story. Thank God that you did what you did. But, I'm a top producing real estate professional that, after 40 years decided, I need to help influence other agents. And anyway, so that's, but thank you.
If you think about, I giggle because, TikTok pays influencers a lot.
Oh, well, we could be influencers, couldn't we?
We should move this podcast to TikTok. Talk.
Right.
Too funny. I giggle. But, we're here to just continue to educate others. You taught me a long time ago that success leaves clues. And I'm really grateful for all of the clues that so many people left along the way for me. And I was able to just pick a few and then twist it that works for my business, right? And that's the whole thing is you're going to be different than the next. You don't have to do it Monty's way. You don't have to do it Carey Ann's way. You do it your way, right? This is your opportunity to shine the brightest for you. But there's so many clues that we can share, that somebody taught us, right, in their previous life that allowed us to be a little better.
That simple statement you just said, success leaves clues. I never forget. I was really struggling. I went to a seminar. And the guy was known for interviewing an top agent in North America every month. Howard Britton was his name. And afterwards, I was so encouraged by that, because I was going through a tough time in my life and my business, that I thought, and he was offering this collection of, I don't know how many years worth of interviews from people. And I really took to heart that success leaves clues. And when he made this offer, and I forget what it was, $500, $1,000, something like that. It was a lot of money for me at that time, because I didn't have the money, but I had a credit card, and I knew that credit card was leaning on max. But my
17% interest.
my offering to God was, if this will clear, I'm going to buy it all.
All right.
So thankfully it cleared. But the point of the story is, I then internalized that material and took things that resonated with me and put me into it. And then I kicked my business off to another level that I hadn't seen before, because that shortly thereafter I became the number one agent in that county of Brevard, Florida at that time. But it was because I learned a conviction that success leaves clues. It's not that complicated. Find something that you can resonate with and put you in that and do it consistently over time.
Yeah.
And success has to come. It has to follow. It's a law, like a law of reciprocity is a law.
And if you want it, right? Meaning you have to be truly deciding to shift from a interested mindset to a committed mindset. You know, for years, I remember a long time I was an originator, and I was just doing my thing, and I met some great people, and they shared all these great ideas, and I came back and I just did what I normally always did, right? And I just kind of stayed the same way until something in my world shook me to my core that forced me to have to make a decision. Am I going to do this? And am I going to do this? You know, am I going to go to the next level, or am I just going to stay where I'm at, right? Am I going to move from interested to committed? And that was what I decided to do. And so I think it just depends upon where you are in this industry. If this is a hobby, if this is a career, and if this is a career, this is the time to do it, right? Like step up and take all of the opportunities that are right in front of us and the ideas, right? And then really just move them to allow the needle in your business to go to the next level. So I think that's a big win.
2 days
across
ago,
the board.
2 days ago, many people know I live in Florida part of the time and Tennessee part of the time. But one of the joys I get of driving back, and I've been flying mostly, but this past a couple of days ago, I drove up here, a 10-hour drive, 11-hour drive if you count sitting in traffic in Chattanooga and Atlanta. But the point is, I embrace the opportunity, just like I want you to embrace the opportunity when you're driving across, Middle Tennessee to show a property or whatever. Redeem that time. You know, I know not everybody's got that passion, but I can promise you this, however old you are, you're probably not 72. When you do hit a certain point in time, things become a little more urgent. You start realizing, holy cow, percentage-wise, I'm definitely in the second half. I don't plan on going past 140, so I know I'm in the second half. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I'm open to that idea, but I don't want to be just sitting in the corner drooling on myself. I want to be vibrant and so forth. So one of the things I'm constantly doing is constantly learning. I know some people think I'm maybe addicted to information, so forth. Maybe I am. You know, it's a changing world constantly. But I got to read on the drive up here.
Yes.
I got to listen to 2 books, and I'm constantly reminded that if you want to know somebody, ask them this question: what's the latest book that you've read? And you'll learn a lot about that person. And I'm not judging anybody by if you were like me years ago and hadn't read a book, until somebody at church handed me Zig Ziglar's book, See You at the Top, and I was shocked to find out life will pay whatever I demand of it. Are you kidding me? Who in the, I was like a little kid. Life will pay me whatever at that time I was working as a factory worker, for $12 an hour, whatever it was. And that opened up my whole world, and I became hungry then for information, hungry for growth, because I realized if I'm going to make a demand on life to pay me whatever I want, then I got to be able to step up and do the things required for that accomplishment.
Totally.
I can't just sit back and say, okay, life, pay me 6-figure income. You have to go after it, And one of the ways you do that is, I think, to win the battle between your ears, and one of the ways you do that is immerse yourself in things that build you up. And I'm not against music. I watch people listen to music all the time. That's mental chewing gum. Nothing wrong with it. We all need some mental chewing gum once in a while. But redeem the time whenever you can. For $15 or $14, whatever it is on Audible, you can have the condensed version of somebody's knowledge, on a topic. And that's pretty powerful. For the cost of a lunch in today's world, you can get into somebody, like this, one of the latest books I was sharing on our huddle call the other day, last week, is a book called Elite Minds. Highly recommend it. Whoops, just hit go. By Stan Beecham. He's
Elite Minds, okay.
Elite Minds, yeah. He is a coach for elite people, and he really breaks down some things, I guess, of the obvious, that so much is in our minds. He compares, somebody playing golf, for instance, that doesn't do good on putting, and he talks to him about it. He goes, well, they say, I just know I don't. And so therefore they don't, they don't overcome that part of it. So I want to make a couple of recommendations. Leap Mind's one of them I want to make a recommendation to. I listened to the second time a book called, it's called Too Nice for Sales. And it's Too Nice for Sales.
Too Nice for Sales.
Too Nice for Sales.
I will tell you, here's the deal with the Audible as you're looking up the next book. So for me, they're really slow, right? Like
you can speed them up.
Yeah. So that's what I learned, right?
Yeah.
So I
listen to 1.5.
Yeah. 1.5. I'm like,
yeah.
I get you to get, I'm a D. Like, let's get to the point,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
There's no fluff. I've
tried beyond 1.5 and you're just a little too much blur there.
Yeah. It's kind of like the chipmunks a little bit, we're just getting a little too squeaky there. Yeah.
So one of the things I hear when I talk to people about this topic is, well, I don't catch everything, so I don't listen to it. Well, that's the beautiful thing. I'm listening to this book, Too Nice for Sales, the third time.
Okay.
Part of it's because I'm a slow learner.
Sure.
Part of it's because it's a quick book. It's only a 2-hour listen to. And part of it is because he's talking about the difference of dealing in today's online leads versus the face-to-face consumer that we used to have, okay? He created this, or helped create this thing called Ylomo, or I think it's called Ylomo. It's an AI system that
Ylopo.
Ylopo. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I was like,
Ylomo?
What's happening here?
Ylopo, yeah.
I'm with you now.
Powerful tool.
Yeah.
I mean, a powerful tool. Another book, because I don't just do, I think it's important to have all the notes of the orchestra, not just the happy high notes. You got to have the whole spectrum.
Yeah, you should.
I've got 100, by the way, I think I've got 154 titles.
You travel a lot of miles in that truck.
So here's a really good one that I don't know if you thought about or not, but How to Talk to Anyone Anytime by Larry King. Let me share
Larry
just
King.
Larry King. And so here's some of the lessons. How to overcome shyness and put other people first. Zig Ziglar taught me shy salespeople have skinny kids. Okay? I didn't want to have skinny kids, so I had to overcome that shyness, and I put myself in.
Isn't it interesting? So many salespeople are shy.
It is.
It's
I was
crazy.
extremely shy.
Yeah, and we're in sales, right?
I know it.
That's crazy.
And it makes sense that shy salespeople have skinny kids.
We don't want to offend or upset, so we just don't talk to them.
That's why this Larry King book would be a great place to check out. He says, how to overcome shyness. Another one is how to choose an appropriate conversation topic in any situation, how to ace a job interview. And when you're sitting down a listing appointment or a buyer rep, you're going for a job interview, believe it or not.
For sure.
What the most successful conversationalists have in common, and one great question you can ask to enhance your conversation with anyone, anytime, anywhere. I mean, Larry King, how many people had he talked to over the years? A whole lot.
In the Larry King?
That is, as in the Larry King.
Okay.
Another one that is really good is the medical monopoly. And I know this is not a health series, but my conviction is if you want to be your best, you got to feel your best.
Yeah.
So it's important to listen outside of the normal routine and thinking that we've been programmed in a lot of ways. I'll stay out of that rabbit hole, but there's a lot of truth in that.
But there's something to be said about that.
I listened to this twice because he really breaks it down how maybe we should think on that topic. I'll leave that there.
I will say, I go to the workout place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I look at who's in front of me before my workout and who's behind me, because we're all in our sessions, and they're all executives, right? And so I'm saying they're all leaders, right? We're all leaders, right? We're putting our health first, right? Everybody is. So you pause for a moment to say everybody is putting their health, right, in a place, because we are told if you read more, you eat right, you focus on your health, and you're very driven, and you find ways to create opportunity, turn heads, and different methods than the rest, you will be successful, right? And so
you're not going to be if you're feeling bad. You're not going to feel if you're anyway. Again, I'm not criticizing you, and I'm just saying that we have to look at the whole picture.
Yeah,
here.
and those that have, because for you, I was very inspired by you. You have always put that in the forefront. I did put career and business before me for a really long time, and then all of a sudden I woke up and I was tired, and it was one of those where I was like, oh, I get it now. Like you can't just do all in one breath, business and not really focus about, you. I love all of your books. I mean, I'm still a believer in a good hospitality book, a good, how do you wow another. I saw some really cool, somebody sent me some Instagram videos on even the Chewies, which is the pet. You love pets, right?
Yeah, Chewies.
Yeah, Chewies. So how they really have built their business on making a difference. Which is kind of really goes back to that book that you got me on, which is Unreasonable Hospitality. How do you really stand out by just loving on people, really, making a difference through true care for another. And they were talking about think about all the moments, right? So a moment. And again, I don't have a pet, but a moment for Chewies would be that a pet eventually passes, right? And so their moment would be where I'm not going to, I think they figure out that the pet passes. I'm not sure how because you call and say your pet passes. I think that's what the situation is. So they automatically send you flowers, I think, in the mail. They credit you back the previous month because their dog has passed.
Wow.
And they make a moment of that because they know that is something that is going to happen, right? There's birth of dogs, there's death of dogs, right? And
very few things are more painful.
Right, exactly. And so you think about the moment. So that got me thinking too, like going back to your Unreasonable Hospitality book that you shared, going back to the moments of real estate, right? What are the moments? How can you really make those moments mean something, right? And have such a memorable experience, throughout. So that's what we're working on as a team right now.
Just last week I closed on a lot, $158,000 lot. I got a phone call, wrote it up, didn't even meet the people, just, they wanted to buy it's a builder, a small builder, keeps 3 homes going at one time. And anyway, so we didn't have time. I never got to meet him until at the closing. And at the closing, his wife was having a hard time transferring the funds and so forth. So I had a time to connect with him. And anyhow, so I started, and thank God that she had a problem with the funds being transferred, because it gave me chance to try to paddle with him on some topics.
Right.
And anyways, the point is, I asked him about what he was building at the moment, and I said, "Would you mind if I took a look at it?" I said, "I've been in the business for a while, and maybe I can lay some extra eyes on it." I drove 45 minutes to that property after the closing. He was shocked by the fact that I did. He goes, I've not been impressed with my current agent. You're going to be the one who sells this home for me.
Yeah.
But it was that inspiration I'm sorry, what's the name of the book again? I should know by now. Unreasonable Hospitality. That got me thinking, how can we impress somebody, except, show them something beyond. And all it was making a drive, viewing a property that's framed up, and telling him what I thought maybe you might want to consider or whatever. And just the fact that I did that with no promises, no guarantees, no other thing other than to work from a place of contribution and show him that I was ambitious, because I can tell you're 10 times more ambitious than the agent I have now. So anyhow, that's I think an important consideration.
Yeah. It talks about here, it turns everyday experiences into emotional connections. I think when you're able to emotionally connect, with any bit of your clientele, right, you're really going to make that bond that's going to last, so much longer, for future opportunities. And so many people, when you're starting out, you're like, oh, I need to do that for the dollar, right? If we can change our mindset, going back to the mindset concept, if we can change it, we're doing for future, we're building a brand, we're building a business, right? We're not doing anything for the dollar. I think if we think about how we're just building something grander, the dollar comes, right?
Loving humanity, providing answers and expertise for them. Again, going back to Too Nice for Sales, I highly recommend it. It's a couple hours. You can fast forward through the first 3 chapters. And when you get into the process of having a sincere conversation, not trying to sell them something, not trying to tell them that, if you don't buy now, the rates are going to go up, all these kind of things that we've done in the past, but just love on somebody. Just say, what's going on in your life that's got you thinking about doing, buying a house or selling a house or whatever. Just have a genuine conversation and, hey, did you know about this? And then start, giving them information with, again, no promises or anything. You're becoming a value so that when they do make a choice, who they're going to go to most of the time is that person who
and create the solution, right? And sometimes, like for me, I'm not the solution, right? Like sometimes
I love that about
I'm
you.
not
I
able
love
to
that about
create
you.
the solution.
Yeah.
Right now, recently, a client reached out. It got denied, and I tried to help them, and it was a non-warrantable condo. I mean, there was no way that I could assist them, but I knew that I could get a handshake loan from a local bank because they don't look at that, condo. Maybe we can move into a commercial type of loan, and I was able to facilitate that loan, right? That's still a wow. I made no money on that, but that is a wow and
That's
an
a wow.
opportunity for I, as a business owner, to make a connection with a new agent, right? To continue to create a bond with an agent that I already knew, right? And continue to build the brand and continue to build a business that I'm working really hard to do. So I
It's
just
that law of
encourage everybody.
reciprocity too, though.
Yeah.
If you continue to give, it has to return. It's like gravity. It's real. So before we get, I want to know more about the mortgage situation right now, Carey Ann, because all the realtors are busy, and sometimes things that you might have shared maybe didn't matter at that moment because we weren't working with somebody who had that need or whatever. And I really want to go into that. Before I do that, though, I want to share something that I shared with the team this week about things that I have learned over the last 4 decades that took some cases took me a long time to learn these things. But if I can help anybody internalize these things, I think it's worthwhile. One of them is, and it's especially important to know this right now because we're dealing with a market that's, being the market. What is the market? That's constantly changing. But right now you've got to remember, I can't want it more than they want it for themselves. It sounds really simple, but it's so real. You can't want it more for them than they want it for themselves. And that's I was with I talked to one of our agents a couple of days ago, and she's obsessing over this listing. What can I do to sell this listing? And she's had it for 9 months, and now the client's not even being loyal to her and asking other agents, what do you think? And she's worked her butt off on this. But the point is, you can't want it more for somebody than they want it for themselves. And you got to be okay with that. Give yourself permission to be okay with that. So number 2 is everyone makes plans with imagined equity. You've heard me say this before, but everybody that's going to sell something makes plans with imagined equity. And unfortunately, that imagined equity many times right now is based on what a home sold for up the street 2 years ago. It has nothing to do with today's market, but they made plans with imagined equity.
And they
we all
put
do
a
that.
timeline around it too.
Yeah, we all do that. We're all guilty of it. Number 3, I'm going to go through these real quickly, is every homeowner suffers from the disease, but my home's worth more because.
But it is.
I just put a roof on it. I just painted it. I just changed the toilet seats. It's worth more because I got to pay
I like my home. You should like my home too.
Yeah. But everybody, got to remember that, guys. Everybody suffers from the disease. But my home is worth more because. Number 4 is the best defense is having a better offense. Meaning, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Again, that's what I was sharing with this lady the other day. This one of our awesome agents the other day. She's obsessing over this one because that's the one on her plate. And the more time you put into this, the more time you get invested in this, the more determined, I'm going to sell this home. Go back to, I can't want it more than what she wants it for herself. And the other part is, I only have so many seats on the bus. This person's taking up all my seats because I don't have any mental capacity because I'm obsessing over this. No matter how much you want to be their superhero, don't let it happen. You cannot put all your eggs in one basket. Number 5 is time has a way of healing everyone's stubbornness. When somebody steps into the market for the first time, they have a different expectation, especially a seller, and you have to allow that time to heal their stubbornness, okay? And just keep on loving them. Keep giving them no reasons because you're the first one in front of their reasons why their home hasn't sold. It must be my agent. In a lot of cases, it is, but don't let that be true with you, okay? And number 6 is, and somebody was crushed the other day because she had put so much time and energy in this thing. And I've been there before where I just wanted to quit. Damn it. I just wanted to quit.
Yeah.
One time I carried somebody around 325 miles. That's back when you carried the people around. And I remember that day so well.
Physically carry them. You drove them.
I drove them around from county to county to county to county. And I remember that weekend because their 2-year-old was sitting me in a car seat behind me, kicking me the whole way. That's the only reason I remember
it's
that.
Like the airplane.
Yeah, only worse. And they chose a home. Long story short, they ended up firing me because the appraisal came back about $250 square feet short than what we thought we bought. And they blame me for that. Okay. And so I just wanted to quit because I was so invested in those people. So remember this, and you want to repeat this on occasion when those cases, you remember to say this: my life and livelihood does not and never will depend on any one single transaction. My next great buyer and or seller is looking for me right now, and I'm attracting them to me because of the person I am becoming. Guys, you got to remember this. You are either becoming or you're fading away. You're either becoming that excellent agent or you're on your way out probably. You're either becoming by embracing the failure, by embracing the growth. The growth doesn't happen without the failure. Victories don't happen without the failure. So be okay with that. It may be hard, but it's worth it. I'm telling you this after 41 years of doing this. It may be hard, but it's worth it. Okay, so anyhow, that's Uncle Monty-isms for today. I want to know more about the mortgage business, Carey Ann.
Well, everything you're saying is, so true. I mean, it's easy for us to forget, all that you're referencing, and kind of, fall back into what is, just the biggest thing on our plate, which is one transaction,
right.
And there's so much more, right? There's so much more. But the mortgage business is moving right along, right? I've been doing this 25 years. Every year.
25 years?
Yeah. Don't I look like I have?
You've been making fun of me about 41 years.
But
25's now.
Every year is
Holy
a new
cow.
year, right?
Yeah.
But what's interesting is every year it's just creating solutions for the next buyer, right? Working through the next challenge of how to help the next buyer, right? It does not matter if, and we always say we never want to judge a book by its cover. Right now I'm working with a client that has the prettiest book cover ever and just, is having the worst time getting approved through a very large, recognizable, what's the word? Fancy bank. How about that? I don't know. Again, I didn't pass English, but there's some very big words associated with that. Yeah. But I'm saying is, there are lots of opportunities. For CMG right now, I'm really excited. We just moved to 1,000 mortgage programs. Do you and I need 1,000 mortgage programs? No, right? Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, there's certain programs that open doors and create opportunity each and every day for the average, clientele. Is it associated with credit score? Is it the type of loan, right? Is it, maybe they're self-employed, maybe they're veterans, maybe they're this, maybe they're that, right? How do we create an opportunity for somebody to be able to purchase what they think is their dream home, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not yours or mine to judge that that's a good house or not. That's their house. That's the house that they want to purchase, right? Yeah. And so I always say we love all people, we love all homes, we love all credit profiles. Now, some we have to improve, right? So the latest and greatest is our student loan challenges we're walking into. I mean, I'm seeing this every day that it is somebody that was deferred on a student loan with no trouble, had a great credit score, and then recently that student loan went possibly into collection, maybe a default in a government collection, and or went from 0 times whatever to multiple delinquencies 90 days past due, right? And so their credit score dipped not 20 points but 100 points. How do you work through that? The great news is when you work with a mortgage team that's not just focused on one transaction, but how to create solutions, right? We're educated, we're trained on putting together a process that is step by step that allows us to get to the finish line in a timely fashion, right? Mm-hmm. One that comes to us that was denied once, twice, 3 times. We then assist that client, work, package it, kind of bandage it up together, work on boosting their credit score. And now they're approved and can get closed, in a 30-day period. That's a wow, right? That's a win.
Wow. Yeah.
There's lots of goodness there. The clientele that we're working with right now that was, so-called denied by a recent bank, sometimes it's just shifting the type of loan program that they're doing, right? Sometimes it's as simple as taking a borrower off, adding a borrower, boosting a credit score a few points, right? It's all in the up and up, but it's doing it the right way, and just really being educated. You do such a great job with studying your craft over the last 40-something years. Mm-hmm. Each year, there's something new that you can learn, right? Mm-hmm. You're always always welcome to being the beginner in the business, right? Even though I think you're the best of the best, I as well, but I can learn something new. And being somebody who can learn something new each day allows me to know the latest guideline, right? To know the latest program that is there. Maybe I need to shift 100% directly to a different option. How about this? Last week, I had a personal loan that got denied 2 days before closing on a THDA loan, which is our 100% first-time home buyer loan. It's a great loan, right? Why would my loan be denied? I'm one of the best. Well, how would I know that land is worth more than that particular house, right? In that specific zip code, right? That's something such a glitch, right? That's so small. But great news, by working with a senior lender, somebody who is well versed in all programs, we were able to pivot very quickly. And you know that I love that word, pivot, very quickly, and be able to bring life back into that transaction, even for ourselves, and be able to still close that on that Friday, right? And very quickly, right? And with a quick transition. That is what we're talking about. So when you are a real estate agent out there, you find your lender, you find your vendor that you feel really good with. But I do recommend that you find one that is very seasoned, one that knows when trouble comes, that they're ready to pivot. They have opportunities and options for them to continue to move in a forward direction. If not, you always are welcome to call me, and I'm here to bring life back into those transactions. And I'm grateful for that.
I got to tell you, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I got to tell you that I want to say this just for a disclaimer. Don't use her, okay?
I love you.
Don't use her unless you're okay about being spoiled. And I mean that sincerely. I had a listing close last week, and the other side wasn't using Carey Ann, and it was a stinking nightmare. It was a roller coaster ride. My client is very, if somebody's been living in a home for 35 years, you kind of know what that personality type is. Very structured, very, this is the way it's supposed to happen. No matter how you try to manage those expectations, this is the way it's supposed to happen. And it kept getting bumped out another day, another day, another day, another day. And I keep thinking, man, this wouldn't be doing this if Carey Ann was in charge of this,
Yeah.
But it did close. But my point is, if you're going to use her, understand this, you're going to get spoiled because everybody else is waiting in line, and Carey's at the front of the line. Carey Ann's at the front of the line.
Oh.
And so anyway, just a disclaimer, okay?
Well, we just love Carey Ann and my mortgage team. We love what we do. We take a lot of challenging loans on. We love, like I said, all people, all homes, and all credit profiles, right? And so some people will say, "Oh, I didn't realize you helped that clientele with that credit score." Yes, we welcome that. I didn't know you helped a manufactured home. Yes, we welcome that.
You don't just deal with multi-million-dollar homes?
No, goodness. I mean, I don't even do multi-million-dollar houses on a regular basis, right? Now, I do welcome them, and I would honored to be working with them as well. So we're just grateful for every opportunity. But again, goes back to just finding your person that you feel confident with, and building that relationship, and knowing that you want to be able to work with somebody who understands the business, understands the loan programs, understands the opportunity to create solutions out of the biggest challenges. And sometimes the answer is no, but given the answer no early is the key to that storyline, right?
So
not at the last minute.
Regardless of the program or problem that somebody's having with a loan, there's a good chance you have an answer for it.
Yeah, and sometimes the answer is that I can't assist. Sometimes the answer is it can't happen today. Right?
Tell them now rather than wait
like
till
this
the day
morning
before
earlier outside your studio here, I was talking with a client who we need to boost their credit for the next 4 months, right? And these are steps. And I'm only as good as how engaged you're going to be, right? If you're engaged, I'm engaged, and we're going to get this credit score up, and we're going to be able to get you into a loan in the next 4 to 6 months, right? And so sometimes that's the conversation that we're going to have as well. So it is what it is, and interest rates are what they are. And that doesn't slow us, right? The decision of another does not change the outcome of our success. That is continuing what we're going to say.
Are you still using the all-in-one loan?
It's a great loan. You know that we just celebrated our 20th anniversary.
With that?
20 years, yeah.
With that program?
Yeah,
You're
isn't
kidding.
it crazy?
How come you weren't telling me about it a long time ago?
Well, because I
didn't believe in it this way.
I didn't, but I was so scared. I was scared. It was over my head. I was not understanding it. And then I learned that, you know what? You and I can learn so much more by jumping in the deep end, right? And being okay with stepping out of our comfort zone, and that definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone so many years ago. And I think I learned it just 9 years ago, right? And I opened CMG 12 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know that I was reminded because I think it's been 1 year now, almost
Yeah.
exactly, that
Yeah.
we got our home paid off, and it's had a lot to do with that all-in-one
Oh, it is.
loan,
Yeah.
you know?
Check out the All-in-One Boost if you're still watching us now. The allinoneboost.com. It's definitely a site that can teach you all about how you too can accelerate your equity and or have access to that equity for a full 30 years. And this
what's
man right
cool
here
about it.
that
You know, I didn't
got
have to
him
deal-
to pay us mortgage off.
I have money now sitting there if my son and I decided to do a flipper here or there, and
Yeah.
we're talking about that. Or if I decide, I'm going to roll it in and I could live off that or whatever.
You totally
just,
could. Yeah. It's a big win across the board.
Grateful for that.
Always so happy to get to talk with you. Good stuff.
Same here.
Good stuff. We never get
You're
to just
awesome.
talk in general, right? We always have a guest. So it's been a pleasure.
Guys-
How many times has this been a talking? A 200 and what? 237 times
But
we've
who's
been
counting?
talking with you.
But
Who's
counting?
counting? Hey,
Hey,
come
thanks.
on back for the next one. You've been listening to the talk of Music City Real Estate. We're grateful for you.
Thanks, everybody.